Prabhuji, you are on mute. Again on mute.
देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत् नष्टप्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं भगवती सेवया भगवति उत्तम श्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी. So continuing with the discussion on Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 20, Lord Vishnu's appearance in the sacrificial arena of Maharaj Prithu, text number 22 onwards. अथावमृज्याश्रुकलाविलोकयन् तृप्तदृग्गोचरम् आह पूरुषम् पदास्पृशन्तं क्षितिमनसोन्नते विन्यस्तहस्ताग्रम् अंगविद्विषः. The Supreme Personality of Godhead stood with his lotus feet almost touching the ground while he rested the front of his hand on the raised shoulder of Garuda, the enemy of the snakes. Maharaj Prithu, wiping the tears from his eyes, tried to look upon the Lord, but it appeared that the king was not fully satisfied by looking at him. Thus the king offered the following prayers. So Maharaj Prithu was on the stage of prema bhakti. So when the Lord asked him to ask for some benedictions, he just first he worshipped his lotus feet. Now he is and he had his eyes full of tears because of love for the Lord. And now he is trying to look up at the Lord and say the following prayers. The significant point in this verse is that the Lord was standing above the ground, almost touching it. The residents of the upper planetary systems, beginning from Brahmaloka, the planet where Lord Brahma lives, down to Swargaloka, the heavenly planet of Indra, are so advanced in spiritual life that when they come to visit this or similar other lower planetary systems, they keep their weightlessness. This means that they can stand without touching the ground. Lord Vishnu is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but because he lives in one of the planetary systems within this universe, he sometimes plays as if one of the demigods of the universe. When he first appeared before Prithu Maharaj, he was not touching the ground of this earth. But even when he was fully satisfied with the behavior and character of Maharaj Prithu, he immediately acted as a Supreme Personality of Godhead, Narayan, from Vaikuntha. Out of affection for Prithu Maharaj, he touched the earth, but he rested the front of his hand on the raised shoulder of Garuda, his carrier, as if to prevent him from falling down, since the Lord is not accustomed to stand on earthly ground. These are all symptoms of his great affection for Maharaj Prithu. Perceiving his fortunate position, Prithu Maharaj could not fully look upon the Lord due to ecstasy, but still in a faltering voice he began to offer prayers. So the demigods, when they come on earth, their feet don't touch the earth because they feel earth is not good enough, it's not clean enough, not pure enough for them to touch it with their feet. Why not good enough? Because of all the sinful activities that we do. That's why. So Lord also, Prabhupada explains that he acts like a demigod of this universe. So when he first came, he was still on Garuda and he was not, his lotus feet were not touching the ground. But now when Prithu Maharaj, seeing the character and the qualities of Prithu Maharaj, he got down and he's almost touching the ground. Because if Prithu Maharaj is standing there, so the earth is very pure. Anyway, these are just some details. And Prabhupada says he was resting the front of his hand on the raised shoulder of Garuda as if he was preventing himself from falling down. Of course, the Lord cannot fall down, but this was just to make him feel like he was doing that, or give some credit to Garuda also. Prithuruvacha varan vibhotvad varadeshvarad buddha katham vrinite gun vikriyatmanam ye narakanam api santi dehinam tanish kaivalya pate vrinena cha. My dear Lord, you are the best of the demigods who can offer benedictions. Why, therefore, should any learned person ask you for benedictions meant for living entities bewildered by the modes of nature? Such benedictions are available automatically even in the lives of living entities suffering in hellish conditions. My dear Lord, you can certainly bestow merging into existence, but I do not wish to have such a benediction. There are different kinds of benedictions according to a person's demands. For karmis, the best benediction is promotion to the higher planetary systems, where the duration of life is very long and the standard of living and happiness is very high. There are others, namely Jnanis and Yogis, who want the benediction of merging into the existence of the Lord. That is called Kaivalya. That Lord is therefore addressed as Kaivalya Pati, the master or the Lord of the benediction known as Kaivalya. But devotees receive a different type of benediction from the Lord. Devotees are anxious neither for the heavenly planets nor for merging into the existence of the Lord. According to devotees, Kaivalya or merging into the existence of the Lord is considered as good as hell. The word Naraka means hell. Similarly, everyone who exists in this material world is called Narak, because this material existence itself is known as hellish condition of life. Prithu Maharaj, however, expressed that he was interested neither in the benediction desired by the karmis nor that desired by the Jnanis and Yogis. Srila Prabodhanand Saraswati Prabhu, a great devotee of Lord Chaitanya, described that Kaivalya is no better than hellish condition of life. And as for the delights of the heavenly planets, they are factually will-o'-the-wisps or phantasmagoria. They are not wanted by devotees. Devotees do not even care for the positions held by Lord Brahma or Lord Shiva, nor does a devotee desire to become equal with the Lord Vishnu. As a pure devotee of the Lord, Prithu Maharaj made his position very clear. So, when the Lord asked for some benedictions, so he clarified it. You are Kaivalya Pati, means you can give the benediction even up to the point of mukti, liberation. But he said, I do not wish to have such a benediction. Because for devotees, going to heavenly planets, enjoying so much of opulence, it's not worth it. Because first of all, they know they can get distracted, and secondly, it's a wastage of time. And what's the meaning of opulence or any kind of Aishwarya without the service of the Lord? So the devotees don't want it. And Kaivalya liberation, generally what Kaivalya is meant by yogis and jnanis, that is merging into Brahmjyoti. And devotees don't want that either, because merging in Brahmjyoti means no more service. They cannot do any service. There is no reciprocation between the Lord and the devotees. So they say, I don't want it either. See, this is where The Lord begets helpless in front of devotees. He wants to give the devotees something, and devotees don't want it. Na kame nath tad api aham kvachan yatra yushmat charanam bujasavaha mahattam antar hridyan mukhachito vidhatsva karnayutumesh me varaha. My dear Lord, I therefore do not wish to have the benediction of merging into your existence, a benediction in which there is no existence of the nectarian beverage of your lotus feet. I want the benediction of at least 1,000,000 years, for thus I may be able to hear about the glories of your lotus feet from the mouths of your pure devotees. So this is the desire, or not just the desire. Like Rupa Goswami says, to make progress in bhakti, there is only one price to pay. It's not paid by dollars or rupees or gold coins or anything else. There's only one price to pay, and that is lolyam. Lolyam means not just desire, but ardent desire, the strong, very strong desire. And here Prithu Maharaj is revealing his desire from the inner core of his heart. What is that? I just want to hear about the glories of your lotus feet. Glories of the lotus feet means glories of the wonderful pastimes of the Lord and the glories of his devotees. And he says, I want the benediction of at least 1,000,000 years, because glories of your lotus feet are unlimited, and I just want to hear everything, whatever I can. It's not that he wanted to hear lots of gossip from his kingdom. That's why he wanted 1,000,000 years. No. He wanted to hear about the glories of the lotus feet of the Lord. Such a beautiful desire. Just imagine if the Lord is standing in front of us, or whenever we go to the temple, what do we ask him for? What benediction do we want? Do we ask him, oh, Lord, give me 1,000,000 years so I can hear about you? Or we ask, oh, please, Lord, take away this problem from my life and take away that problem from my life, which is fine. I'm not saying there's anything wrong, but the best devotees, this is what they're asking. Maharaj Prithu. In the previous verse, Maharaj Prithu addressed the Lord as Kaivalyapati, the master of the liberation of merging into his existence. This does not mean that he was anxious for Kaivalya liberation. That is made clear in this verse. My dear Lord, I do not want such a benediction. Maharaj Prithu wanted to have 1,000,000 years to hear the glories of the lotus feet of the Lord. He specifically mentioned that the glories of the Lord should emanate from the mouths of pure devotees who speak from the cores of their hearts. It is stated in the beginning of Srimad Bhagavatam, Shukmukhat Amrit Drava Samyitam. The nectar of Srimad Bhagavatam became more relishable because it emanated from the mouth of Srila Shukdev Goswami. One might think that these glories of the Lord can be heard from anywhere, from the mouths of either devotees or non-devotees. But here it is specifically mentioned that the glories of the Lord must emanate from the mouth of the pure devotees. Srila Sanatana Goswami has strictly prohibited hearing from the mouth of a non-devotee. There are many professional reciters of Srimad Bhagavatam who speak the narrations very ornamentally, very outwardly, very tastefully, or with lots of emotions into it, with lots of drama, and maybe sometimes they even cry speaking Bhagavatam. But a pure devotee does not like to hear from them, because such glorification of the Lord is simply a vibration of material sound. In fact, Sanatana Goswami, Prabhupada didn't mention it here, but Sanatana Goswami has compared the professional reciters speaking Bhagavatam to as if the milk has been touched by the mouth of a serpent. Milk is Amrit. Milk is very good for one's existence. But when it is touched by the mouth of a serpent, it becomes poisonous. So similarly, if Bhagavatam is even touched by the mouth of such professional reciters, it becomes poisonous. Poisonous in the sense that it will not arouse bhakti in our heart, rather it will arouse material desires. Because they themselves have material desires or material motives behind speaking Bhagavatam. So such professional reciters, Sanatana Goswami completely prohibited us from hearing from them. The word Satam Prasangam Mam Mire Samvido means that the glorification of the Lord is potent when uttered from the mouth of a pure devotee. The Lord has innumerable devotees all over the universe, and they have been glorifying the Lord since time immemorial and for an unlimited time. But still they cannot completely finish enumerating the glories of the Lord. Prithu Maharaj therefore wanted innumerable ears, as Rupa Goswami also desired to have millions of ears and millions of tongues to chant and hear the glorification of the Lord. In other words, if our ears are always engaged in hearing the glorification of the Lord, there will be no scope for hearing the Mayavad philosophy, which is doomed to spiritual progress. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said that if anyone hears from a Mayavadi philosopher preaching about the activities of the Lord, even if it is a description from the Vedic literature, he is ultimately doomed. By hearing such Mayavad philosophy, one cannot come to the destination of spiritual perfection of life. And so it is even more difficult nowadays, because we find the Bhagavad speakers or Krishna Katha speakers practically in every street of India. So how do we know if he is speaking Mayavad philosophy? How do we know if he is a pure devotee or not? So one thing is, okay, as a matter of just etiquette, sometimes we have to go and sit down and attend those kathas because some friends have invited us or relatives have invited us. So it's okay to go, but one has to be very careful, that's all. Very, very careful. And that's one of the main reasons why Prabhupada's books, because there's no doubt about the purification of Srila Prabhupada. So Prabhupada's books should be read very scrutinizingly by devotee. It has to be. Then we know the philosophy, and then there's no way we can get distracted. Even if we are listening to some Mayavad philosopher, we'll not get distracted or diverted from the path of pure devotion service. Sauttam shlok mahan mukhya chuto bhavat vadam bhoj sudha kanailah smritim punar vismritattva vartmanam kuyogi nam no vitarayatalam varah. My dear Lord, you are glorified by the selected verses uttered by great personalities. Such glorification of your lotus feet is just like saffron particles. When the transcendental vibration from the mouths of great devotees carries the aroma of saffron dust of your lotus feet, the forgetful living entity gradually remembers his eternal relationship with you. Devotees thus gradually come to the right conclusion about the value of life. My dear Lord, I therefore do not need any other benediction but the opportunity to hear from the mouth of a pure devotee. So when the transcendental vibration from the mouths of great devotees carries the aroma of the saffron dust of your lotus feet, the forgetful living entity gradually remembers his eternal relationship with you. Such a poetic statement. It's explained in the previous verse that one has to hear glorification of the Lord from the mouth of a pure devotee. This is further explained here. The transcendental vibration from the mouth of a pure devotee is so powerful that it can revive the living entity's memory of his eternal relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In our material existence, under the influence of illusory Maya, we have almost forgotten about our eternal relationship with the Lord, exactly like a man sleeping very deeply who forgets his duties. In the Vedas, it is said that every one of us is sleeping under the influence of Maya. We must get up from this slumber and engage in the right service, for thus we can properly utilize the facility of this human form of life. As expressed in a song by Thakur Bhaktivinoda, Lord Chaitanya says, Jiva Jaga, Jiva Jaga. The Lord asks every sleeping living entity to get up and engage in devotional service so that his mission in this human form of life may be fulfilled. This awakening voice comes through the mouth of a pure devotee. So pure devotees, when they are glorifying the Lord, when they are engaged in chanting and glorifying, then because of their consciousness, because of their devotion, because of their desire to really help, that compassion mood that they have, that really hits the soul, the person who is hearing. Otherwise, just like Prabhupada, before Prabhupada and after also, so many people have written commentaries on Bhagavad Gita, so many, about 700 commentaries are there. But when people read Prabhupada's commentary, so many people became devotees. So many became, and still they're becoming devotees by reading Prabhupada's purports and commentaries. Why? Because the pure devotee like Srila Prabhupada, and this is what the verse is, when they carry the aroma of the saffron dust of a lotus feet, it really changes the heart, transforms the heart of the listener, of the audience. Of course, we can say not everybody, whoever came in contact with Prabhupada, is still coming in contact with Prabhupada's books. Not everybody's heart is getting transformed. But yes, some people are really sleeping. So sooner or later, they will have the effect on their heart. In fact, when I was at the Delhi Temple Museum, so we used to get foreign tourists to our museum. And once one guide brought a very elderly couple from America to the museum. So I showed them the show of Bhagavad Gita. And after that, the guide had time, and I asked if they want to come and take a look at our temple, at the deities. And they said, yes, sure. So I took them upstairs and they took the darshan of the deities. And it happened to be the day of Gita Marathon, when they had started that day only. And one devotee had sponsored some Bhagavad Gitas, and he was distributing them to anybody who wanted from the altar of Radha Parthasarathi. So I took this couple there, and that devotee offered a copy of Bhagavad Gita. And the man took it, but the lady said, no, just give it back. We don't need it. The man, very hesitatingly, he gave it back. I didn't say anything, because that's our thing that we're not supposed to force anybody, especially when they're tourists coming to see the museum. Well, anyway, when we came out, and when they were putting on shoes, I very mildly told the lady, well, you could have taken the book. He was just giving us a gift. And the lady said, actually, we have this book, and I didn't want it to go waste. We already have this book. I said, really? Where did you get it? How did you get it? She said, I got it about 40 years ago in Los Angeles, LA. Devotees were distributing books, and I got it. I remember now, I have it, and after seeing the show and after visiting your temple, I'm making you a promise. When I go back, I'll open it up and read it. And this was her thing, that I didn't want it to go waste, so somebody else can have the book. So sooner or later, it will definitely have the right effect on the heart of the person who has taken the book, or who has even heard Srila Prabhupada, or who has even seen a pure devotee like Srila Prabhupada. And Prabhupada says, a pure devotee always engages in the service of the Lord, taking shelter of his lotus feet, and therefore he has a direct connection with the saffron mercy particles that are strewn over the lotus feet of the Lord. Although when a pure devotee speaks, the articulation of his voice may resemble the sound of this material sky, the voice is spiritually very powerful because it touches the particles of saffron dust on the lotus feet of the Lord. As soon as a sleeping living entity hears a powerful voice emanating from the mouth of a pure devotee, he immediately remembers his eternal relationship with the Lord, although up until that moment he had forgotten everything. For a conditioned soul, therefore, it is very important to hear from the mouth of a pure devotee who is fully surrendered to the lotus feet of the Lord, without any material desire, speculative knowledge, or contamination of the modes of material nature. Every one of us is ku-yogi because we have engaged in the service of this material world, forgetting our eternal relationship with the Lord as it is eternal loving servants. It is our duty to rise from the ku-yoga platform to become su-yogis, perfect mystics. The process of hearing from a pure devotee is recommended in all Vedic literatures, especially by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. One may stay in his position of life, it does not matter what it is, but if one hears from the mouth of a pure devotee, he gradually comes to the understanding of his relationship with the Lord and thus engages in his loving service. And his life becomes completely perfect. Therefore, this process of hearing from the mouth of a pure devotee is very important for making progress in the line of spiritual understanding. So very, very important that we hear from the mouth of a pure devotee. That is why Prabhupada's books very, very important for all of us to study. Because studying Prabhupada's books means we are hearing directly from Srila Prabhupada. So very important. Okay, so one question was asked by Adit Prabhu over WhatsApp, that in Ramayana it is mentioned that only Brahmins were supposed to do tapasya in Satyuga and Treta Yuga when Lord Ram was there. Actually, Brahmins or Kshatriyas also used to do tapasya, but not at all Shudras. Tapasya means going to the forest and doing the tapasya, really, undergoing austerities. Why? Because Shudras, for them, their duty is to serve the other varnas and ashrams. And this is how they make progress. Brahmins and Kshatriyas, especially Brahmins, they're supposed to control their mind by doing tapasya. So what had happened during Lord Ram's time, that is why Ram Rajya was ideal Rajya, because during that time, even the seasons won't change improperly or out of order. And it wasn't like the father is living and the son would die. There's no such thing. That was how perfect Lord Ram's rule was. But what had happened, a Brahman son had died, and also there was some seasonal changes, not according to the order. And people came to Lord Ram complaining that something is wrong with your rule. How come we have to suffer like that? So the Lord was, or the king was so much responsible. So Lord Ram sent his soldiers out, and they saw in one forest, one Shudra was doing some tapasya. And they brought him to Ram's presence. And Lord Ram told him, you're a Shudra, you're not supposed to do tapasya. So because of your tapasya, this whole thing has gone topsy-turvy. And to everybody's bewilderment, Lord Ram gave him the death sentence, punishment, capital punishment. Everybody was surprised. How come Lord is supposed to be so merciful, and all the Shudra was doing was tapasya? And even the atheists now, or people who don't believe in Lord Ram, they question this thing. But the real purpose was, one, to establish that the Shudras, this is not the duty of Shudras to do tapasya. Their duty is to serve the other varnas. And secondly, unknown to everybody. So that is why Prabhupada again and again says we have to listen from pure devotees. And the pure devotees also, they're not going to make up anything. They're going to hear from the parampara and pass on the information. So if we hear from right acharya and without adding our interpretation to it, actually what had happened, Lord Ram, when he gave him that capital punishment, he sent Shudra back to his dham, Ayodhya. So he sent him back to Ayodhya dham because Lord Ram was very pleased with him. It wasn't like he wanted him to die and then rot in hell. No, he was very pleased with him. But for the purpose of administration, he had to put a stop to it. So that was a thing that Adit Prabhu asked, and I said I'll answer it in the class. Is it okay, Prabhuji?
Thanks a lot, Prabhu. That was a wonderful explanation.
Thank you, Prabhu. Okay, so I guess we can stop here. You all have a wonderful and safe day. Hare Krishna. Jai Srila Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna.